welcome back to Fintech Focus TV with me, Toby. Today, I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by none other than the great Ian Bailey. Ian, how are you?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you, Toby.
Listen, great to see you. I wish I could be seeing you in the flesh. For those of you who haven't met Ian yet, Ian has been with Harrington Starr now for 6 years.
6 years in February, 5th of
We're
February.
closing in on it, 5th of February. Who could forget one of the greatest days in Harrington Starr's history? And we'll be coming up again very soon. So yeah. Watch out for that one. Ian looks after our Java practice, and we're going to be talking a little bit about internal people within Harrington Starr over the course of the next week or so, and showcasing some of the themes and trends, because we think at this start of the year, it's so important to see what's happening in the marketplace for both clients and candidates, and some of the trends that are going on. So, Ian, interesting background. Before we move into that, I want to talk a little bit about the all the years before the 6 years. Not many of them I know, but the 6 years before you joined us that you've been on this planet. Basically, a poacher turned gamekeeper. So you were in the marketplace beforehand, working in financial technology. You made the move over to the recruitment side of the marketplace. Thrived ever since. But tell us a little bit about your background before we move into a little bit more about what's going on in the marketplace.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, yeah, as you said, obviously not many years before these 6. Don't let the hairline fool you. So, actually, kind of started life as a mechanical engineer. So, did the kind of an old school apprenticeship. That was my entrance into the working world, kind of washing machines, getting dragged around a factory by my ears, a proper old-fashioned apprenticeship, which I did for 8 years, probably, something like that. Kind of worked my way up from the boy in the factory to up into a design office where I was involved in kind of liaising with clients and kind of understanding what they wanted and letting them know whether it was possible. And that kind of gave me the taste for the kind of client interaction side of things. So from a factory, I managed to land myself a job, a kind of internal sales job, really, for a reseller. They used to sell kind of network test and measurement equipment. So I did that for a bit, and then was quite good. I started internally, and then they promoted me out to sort of field sales. So I was the kind of sales rep out in my company car, cruising around the country, loving life. That went pretty well. I was pretty good at that, but was then dazzled by the bright lights of the city. So relocated into London. We're about 20 years ago now, I guess, 18 years ago, something like that. I got myself a job with the Institute of Directors, so dealing with the kind of senior business leaders, letting them know the kind of benefits of membership with the Institute Directors, and really enjoyed kind of operating at that kind of level with people. So I just really enjoyed it. You kind of deal with people from all these whole range of different industry sectors, and you kind of hearing listening what their problems are, and how a membership organization like that can help them out. So I love doing that. That was a really good time. But the kind of technology, I don't know whether it's the engineering background or what it is, but I love technology, and I love dealing with technologists and just kind of the way they think. So from that, I kind of found myself back working for an organization that actually sold technology into financial services. Kind of real-time trade flow monitoring and that kind of stuff. Never really worked in the finance sector before, but again, it was, now I'm the pathway kind of started to make sense. It was sort of technology, dealing with kind of senior people and kind of listing the problems, and now you're adding financial markets into the mix as well. And I was really enjoying myself. And actually, we as a business, we're still fairly small. And came along to a network. We were invited along to a networking event that Harrington Starr were hosting in a very swanky West London hotel. I just remember turning up. It was 7:30 in the morning, something like that. As a client of Harrington Starr, and just looking around and you kind of talking to people at the coffee at the intro, and I was like, I mean, there's some pretty serious people here. Like, there's some like a whole spread of organizations like this Harrington Starr lot. This is a serious serious gig. Anyway, great event, and actually turned up to 2 or 3 more, and they were fantastic. But starting to become a bit of a regular, then you start meeting a few of the the guys, the Harrington Starr consultants there, and got chatting, and one day I phoned up, guy's still with us, Harry Sopal, and just kind of a networking chat, really. Like we'd made friends like through this network thing, had a chat with him, like, what's recruitment like? Well, within probably 2 hours of that phone call, I was in the Harrington Starr office, being shown around and meeting everybody. And yeah, that was 6.5 years ago, something like that. Like, the rest is history. Here I am.
6.5 years or 6 years is incredible, because I can remember sitting in the meeting room overhearing your foyer conversation with Harry afterwards, where he was putting some sprinkle on his love affair with Tottenham Hotspur at that sort of stage. So suddenly all comes back. So immediately you moved into the development team, and you've been working in that space now for 6 years. You've moved numerous people all over the world, and helped a huge amount of companies, and been involved in the growth of one of our most significant areas of the team and the business. Tell us a little bit about the markets you're covering and who you're helping out there at the moment.
So from a development, the same as financial markets, is a huge beast. You say you work within fintech recruitment. That is, that can be global investment banks through to the kind of pre-product, pre-launch fintech startups and everything in between. So that is a huge umbrella. The same, to a certain extent with development as well. Certainly these days, with new languages coming through all the time, and tweaks to and different versions of existing languages and whatever it might be. But as a core, the team I'm in, we look after Java, Python, and C++. That's kind of my gig, and the permanent stuff as well, because more for audience benefit, the permanent market and the contracts recruit market are kind of fairly different beasts, and it's there's different things and different nuances, and really, to be as good as I can be, I've felt it's really, I've needed to focus solely within that kind of permanent space. So as a core, Java development, C++ development, and Python.
Okay. And tell us what's happening in that space at the moment, because look, we sit here in lockdown 3 or 2 or 1500, whichever way you want to look at it, at the start of 2021. And to me, it seems development's been one of the areas where we've seen the most robustness, through a strong pipeline of activity all the way through. And developers, by nature, have always been quite insular and isolated figures, so it hasn't really changed the game too much for them in terms of their ability to do the job and operate well. Tell us a little bit about your experience and what you've seen in that marketplace over the course of the last year or so, and particularly
sure.
as we move into 2021.
And I've got to say, I do feel incredibly fortunate to be working in an industry like this, that, as you say, is relatively proof against this kind of thing. You did say that developers are tend to be a little bit less exposed and a little bit more insular. I think coming to the end of when I started, but more sort of 10 years or so ago, developers were the guys in the basement with no windows and that kind of stuff, and like headphones in and think head down and don't do anything. I certainly don't think that's the case anymore. Developers are required to be a lot more almost consultative, be involved in decision making and understanding requirements, and building solutions. So look, there is still a place for the guys that want to come in and put the headphones in, head down, and not really interact, but that's not really the case. But in terms of the market itself, the way the world is right now, there is you struggle to think of many organizations that don't have some sort of development function in there somewhere. The banking sector, look, huge amount invested within technology. The kind of fintech space, everything they're building is digital. It's there is some sort of development focus everywhere. So the demand for talent, the demand for developers is only going up. And I feel incredibly fortunate to be part of an industry like that. And the way schools and universities and everything is going as well, that actually the talent coming through, there's a lot more focus on the kind of STEM subjects and specifically around the kind of computer science. I think I think back to when I was at school, you're kind of 30 people sharing one computer if you're lucky.
Hmm.
It's like a core part of the curriculum now, and certainly where things are right now with everyone being homeschooled or remote, working on computers or iPads, or getting into coding at such an early age, the talent pool is only growing as well. So as an overview of a market, it's I think busy is probably the best way I can describe it. It's very fortunate to be part of it.
Busy is a good word to hear at these sort of times. And look, with busy comes challenge. So when we look at that, and you say there's a huge demand, with that, there's two sides of the coin here. The candidates, and making sure that as someone who's looking for work, you're going to stand out and you're going to give yourself the best possible opportunity. But also then for hiring managers, people who are looking to grow their teams with world-class development talent. Now, world-class development talent is competitive. To be able to fuel yourself with the very best developers. I mean, look, I've seen over the course of the last year, even in the last year, every single one of the best candidates you're speaking to are probably sometimes getting sort of 3, 4, 5 offers. So different job opportunities. So that means every time there's a good person who's getting a job, there's 4 companies who are having to look for alternative options when they're doing that. And the companies who are winning are doing things differently within that. So I think it's really interesting for you to share your advice and your wisdom and what you've seen with, if you were talking to customers at the moment, and you're saying what can they do to make sure they're onboarding the best talent into their business, and the best, as we say, look, 3 highly demand skills at the moment in Java, Python, C++. Tell us a little bit about what companies can do to really stand out in that and make a difference.
Yeah, sure. So look, the last 9-10 months, however long it's been now, have been a real playing field leveler, if you like. So there were the larger firms, if you like, that can boast their deluxe office space and the beanbags or the retro gaming machines or the view of the river and all that stuff, and that's they'll attract people, and they've got their free beer taps or whatever it is, or whatever, those kind of bits. Like, that's all gone now. Like, that playing field has been leveled completely. So it's so important for firms when they're trying to attract talent is to get that, get their value proposition across, get it, get out of the mindset of these guys, developers will be, or whoever it is really, but I can only speak about development. These candidates are lucky to come and work for us. It's why would this candidate want to come and work for us? We need to make sure, and the firms that have been the most successful at hiring throughout this time and forever, really, like it's about those who get, why should you come and join us, versus, because as I said before, there are so many options for talented developers. It's more important than ever that firms are getting their value proposition across. And look, when someone's hiring, it's to solve a problem, right? It's someone's left, someone's gone and they've left a hole, or hopefully it's through expansion, and they're growing capacity or whatever it is, but they're hiring to solve a problem. And that, the temptation will always be there to find that person who is going to hit the ground running, or whatever it is going to fill that hole perfectly, or is going to come in and sit perfectly with the rest of the team that's in there. Now, that's great. Look, that, in the short term, that's great. But let's say you do manage to find that person, they come in and they, they're in that team and they're not learning anything. Like, everything about developers, and technologists, like, the market moves so quickly and is evolving all the time, that if you're not constantly learning and constantly improving your skill set, you're getting left behind. So developers need all the time, technologists all the time need to be moving forward and need to be progressing. So if they're using the same skills with your organization as they are in their current organization, what's in it for them? Why would they stay around when they kind of look around and they're doing that and they're doing that? So a simple way we would talk about it is, if you're looking for someone with skills A, B, C, and D, for example, your best person, the best candidate that you're looking for is skills A, B, and C, and then you tell them how you're going to teach them D. Like, they have to feel that they're going to be engaged, that they're going to come and join your business, and they're going to learn, they're going to be improving, they're going to, be elevating themselves. So I think the firms, back to the question, the firms that have been really successful in hiring are the ones that understand that and through the interview process, of course, they're trying to establish, what sort of technical skill set you've got and how you're going to come in and add value. But, really, as a 50-50 split, it's, once that's been established, it's about, right, this is what we can offer you to come and join us. And that's really the guys that have been winning.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about winning that race and the EVP. What is attractive to the best Java, Python, C++ talent out there in the marketplace? What are the things that companies are doing to polish that EVP, present it out there to the marketplace? And as you say, look, this is gonna at the moment a level playing field with the office environment not necessarily being the thing that attracts people to it. Without that, what are the things that are making the difference between companies being able to select the great from the good?
Yeah. So look, again, it's difficult to generalize because everyone's different and everybody wants kind of different things. But look, money is a factor, and of course, look, that's people go to work most often to get paid, so that is a factor. But it isn't. I don't think it's the be all and end all. Look, unless you're kind of miles off market rate for the kind of level of person you're looking for, like the financial side of things is important, but not the be all and end all. I think, as I said before, the technology and the development market, it's advancing so quickly and it's moving so fast all the time. And the version of Java you're using, for example, if you're kind of languishing back in 6 or 7 or something like that, but these guys are using 11 and starting to playing with versions of 13, that sort of stuff is more attractive. Your modern development practices, you're building stuff in a microservices based architecture, for example, versus a more kind of old fashioned monolithic way of developing, or whatever it might be, or cloud hosting, for example. Everybody wants to, everybody's clamoring around kind of off-prem sort of as a service type model. So
I think what you're talking about is training and developing people, isn't it, and giving
training
them
and developing
access and exposure to new technologies that allows them to build their CV and move further forward.
Exactly that. It's progression. People and technologists and developers need to feel like they're progressing, and it's adding a skill set to their armory that they don't have before. There's one firm that we work with who have hired incredibly successfully throughout. We're actually offering AWS certifications. It would be nice. Their kind of basic requirements were the core language, sort of Java with a Spring framework, familiarity working in a microservices based architecture. That was kind of the core thing, but everything they were doing was cloud hosted. But what their USP was, I guess, was to offer, anyone who came in and was interested in doing so, they would put them through the AWS certification. And, that just something like that, which, relatively inexpensive, I guess, but the engagement and that provides that helped them stand out was a pleasure to work with.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely. We've done a lot of work on this, as you know, with the Ultimate FinTech Workplace Awards, and I've interviewed scores of companies who've really worked hard to have a standout value proposition. And I think particularly with those, with developers, with engineers, what we're looking at here is something which is going to allow them to make an impact, to have a demonstrable impact into the product itself and how that can move it further forward with a product that's solving a real problem.
Yeah,
it's got cutting edge technology and allow people to play with things that are going to take them and their careers further forward. And to be working with a business there that allows them to grow and improve, that mastery piece of what we're looking for. And I think that sort of triangulates, and the businesses that are able to articulate that are the ones who are particularly thriving as well. And because there's lots of companies who have a great story, but that story remains in the box.
Yeah.
They never really articulate why it's a great place to work. And I think it's so important at the moment with the fierce competition for the best talent in the industry, that you have to be really, really clear about why people should and what their benefit is to them of joining your business. Let's move on to the candidate side, Ian, because it's also a tricky time for candidates to make that choice. We've had, when you are presented with 2, 3, 4 good offers of employment, sometimes the one with the biggest price check isn't necessarily the best one to go for. Sometimes it is. sometimes you can make a mistake that takes your career backwards rather than forwards, over a business that may not have necessarily been exactly the right one. What advice have you got to developers in the marketplace, and how can you help them and steer them to make the right decisions in their job choices at the moment?
Yeah, sure. And look, pandemic or not, or working remotely or not, changing jobs and choosing a job, and as I said before, I work within the permanent space, is a big deal. Like it is, and making the wrong decision, can set you back months, years, whatever it might be, or take you completely off the path of where you're looking to get to. So it's still a big decision, and not something that should be taken lightly. Let's get that out there. What the last kind of 9 months, the lockdown period has done, I think, has made it an awful lot easier for candidates to put themselves out there, to interview, to kind of see what's about. And almost, and this isn't everybody, but I've seen it kind of more and more, that because you don't have to go through the same process as you used to go to an interview, make up an excuse, doctor's appointment, or book time off, to get out the office and physically go to an interview. You can actually interview from your kitchen table or office or home office or wherever you're working from, relatively easily. Now, what that allows you to do is actually, you can start, I was dealing with a candidate just before Christmas. He was involved in, I think at some points it was up to like 10 different interview processes all at once, and whilst holding down a full-time job. And look, I don't care who you are, there is no way that you can give I mean, what are the chances of that?
That is definitely to be kept in the video. There you go. Nice passerby. Carry on.
There is no chance that you can give your all and do the amount of preparation that's required and due diligence and whatever it is for that many interview processes running concurrently, whilst holding down your job, whilst potentially homeschooling and whatever else it is you have to do in your life as well. So it's kind of that sort of false economy of thinking, well, because I will put myself out there and do whatever I can. So look, my advice for the developer, and I'll sort of caveat a little bit by saying, look, I'll always, when I work with candidates, try and give them options. I think that is, it's very rare that you speak to a candidate and you really kind of understand what they're looking for, and it's just right, this is the only type of job that's going to be good for you. That's part of what I do, and I think why I love this job so much, but B, why I've been as successful as I've been at it, is actually just taking that time to really understand not just what it is that candidates want now, but what they want to do 5 years. Where is this? What pathway are we putting you on? What's the end result to this? Understanding that, and then 2, 3, 4, whatever it might be, depending on the seniority or whatever, options that we work closely and make sure that's on a proper path. It might not be the end result, but it's certainly putting you on a path to get there. Look, I understand, like, of course I understand the temptation is, well, I'll put my CV up on a job board and I'll have 5, 6, 7 different recruiters call me. All of them will have 3, 4, 5, however many different options, and all of a sudden I've got 15 different things that I'm looking at. Well, I better make sure that I look at all of them. And it's false economy. You can't do it. The standards are so high within development, or interviewers are expecting a lot from candidates to interview. So my advice is, just because you can do that and look at loads of different things doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing to do. It's speak with a recruiter who's going to take the time to understand what it is you want, understand what it is you're looking for, and really be focused within that.
Absolutely agree. But there's so many things we could unpick on this, and this is this is one of those ones where we could say, right, we could have a weekly series on this, Ian, because there's so many things that we can look at for both clients and candidates to help them in a really difficult time. I want to touch on salaries to finish off today's session, because look, I think there's probably a consensus out there, if you read the press, that there's pressure on salaries and people are putting things on, lives on hold at the moment. Yet again, we're seeing progress again in what people are needing to pay to attract and engage the best talent. Tell us what's happening at the moment as a brief overview of that Java world, that Python world, that C++ world. Are you seeing across the board at all levels increases? Is it stayed static? Does it move backwards? What's happening out there?
So look, to go back to what I said at the start, it is more than just a monetary gig with this. Firms must get that value proposition across in order to attract talent. But within any market, to attract the best, there is going to be a cost to it. But I'd say across industry, there's a steady increase. But because that is the way the world works. But as I said, I think more important than just a pure kind of pounds and pence thing, it is about getting that value proposition across and explaining and making candidates feel that they're joining something that's going to help them progress and help them move forward in their careers.
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. I agree with that completely. Look, we're in a time at the moment where over the last 21 years that I've been in the industry, you've seen a constant premium put on talent, and that will rise steadily.
Of course.
Cost of living has naturally gone up. And I don't think we're seeing seismic shifts for developers at the moment, but we are seeing companies needing to make sure that when they're looking to attract the top of the industry, that they're paying competitive rates within it. But as you say, alongside that, we're having something there for them, which is above and beyond that. How are they going to develop and how are they going to move further forward? Because with that average tenure of developers being so low at the moment, so short, what companies really need to do is they're investing long-term and thinking about how that person's pathway and their story in that company comes through. And the companies that tell that story better, as with everything you've said so far, stand the very best opportunity to keep and retain and attract the best talent into their business. Ian, it's been absolutely brilliant talking to you as always.
Good fun.
Let's finish up with who should be reaching out to. That you've got, we were talking before this. There's 30, 40 great opportunities that you've got in your network at the moment. Who are the people who should be reaching out for you and to you, and how do they reach you?
Because look, as I said, and hopefully as has come across in this video, I love what I do. I love this space. Look, I work within the confines, if you like, of Java development, C++ development, and Python development. So look, anybody who's working within that space, I'll talk about it till the cows come home. What's out there and what's going on. So it's as broad as that, really. I honestly love talking about this subject, and that is on both sides of the coin. Like, if you're looking to hire within that space, I'm more than happy to go into kind of detail about the conversations I'm having with candidates. But as I said, and in the last bit, the candidates who are interested in making a move or looking to get into the financial services space, wherever that might be, from banks to, as I say, the kind of tech startups, give me a call, email me. Details I'm sure will be posted next to this, and we'll have a conversation about exactly what it is you're looking for, and exactly, more importantly, where you want to get to, what you want to be learning, and then we'll come up with a strategy to get that.
Love that. And it's ian.bailey at harringtonstar.com. We will put that, as you say, in the footnotes to this as well. And there are some extraordinary, just brilliant opportunities with some amazing companies at the moment that you're working with. So please do reach out to Ian. Ian, utterly pleasure. Thanks so much for doing that. Thank you all for listening. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, and we will see you soon on another episode of Fintech Focus TV. Thanks so much.
Cheers.